Welcome back, aliens. My name is Navin Reddy, and in this video, we'll talk about switch statement. No, I'm not talking about the old switch statement in Java. I'm talking about the updated version. So not exactly a new one, but updated version of switch statement. Now, if you know, from last 3 years, we are getting more updates of Java. So basically, in every 6 months, the new Java version is getting released, and every time they are adding some amazing feature. And then they have done some changes in the switch statement. So let's understand that in this code. So what I will do is I will write a very simple switch statement here just to understand what is the old switch statement looks like. So basically you have to write switch, and then you have to provide the round brackets. You have to open the brackets. This is where you will write all your cases, right? And then you can mention the case here. Of course, what is the case matching with, and then give a colon. And then you have to execute the block or statement which you want to execute in this case. And then once you do that, let me just write a comment here. This is where your code will go. And then before the next case, you need to put, remember we used to put break statement here. So basically, if you don't do that, your execution will just carry forward. So if the case is matching, it will execute the block and it will just go forward. What we want is, we don't want to write this break, right? Now, you will understand this once I write an example here. And what if I say in the newer switch statement, you don't need to put bracket? Awesome, right? Finally, even for a trainer, when we teach Java and when we talk about switch statement, they all have the same question. Why you have to put a break in between? It is increasing the number of lines you have. And first of all, it's also difficult to read. So basically, Java says, okay, now you don't have to. Second, we can use switch in a normal way, but what if you want to use switch in an expression? What if you want to return something from a switch block? Is it really possible? And we'll do that in this video. This video might be lengthy, but you will understand the important updates happen to the switch statement. So let's get started. So what I will do now is we'll start with a very simple one. Let's work with integers. The version before Java 5, we were supposed to use only integers. String was not supported. But after Java 5, we got string support as well. So in fact, instead of working with integer, we can directly work with string, or let's work with string itself. So let's say we have num here, int num, and the value of num is 1. Now what I will do is very classical example of switch statement. You can also go for number of the days, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. Do you want to wake up early or not? That's a different thing. So instead of going for int, let's go for string, because after 5, string is supported. So let's use string, and let's say a day here. And we'll define a day as, let's say, Monday. Now, what I want to do with this is, let's say I wake up in a different time depending upon the day. Example, on Sunday, Saturday, I have to wake up early because I have a morning batch. On Monday, I normally take holiday, or maybe I come late to the office. On the remaining days, it's normal for me. I wake up at around 7 a.m. and then I go to office at 9. So I just want to give you the example here. So I want to build an application based on the day. It will set an alarm automatically. So if it is Monday, set an alarm for 7. So how we can do that? So for Saturday and Sunday, I want to wake up at 6. So it should set an alarm of 6. Monday, it should set an alarm of, let's say, 8. And on remaining days, it should set an alarm of 7. So the way you can do that is by creating a switch, and in which you can pass day here. And then we can set a case here. So before the colon, you have to specify the case. If it is Monday, in that case, the focus is on Saturday and Sunday, right? So let's say Saturday, and we can actually write 2 switch cases, or 2 cases in one case, or 2 conditions, or 2 matching in one case. I can do it for Sunday as well. If this is a case, I want to print, imagine I'm doing something on the alarm side, but let's keep it simple. And I will say system.out.println, I will say 7, okay, I have to wake up at 6 a.m. Right? So let's say I want to focus on Monday because that's a different one. And here I will say wake up at 8 a.m. So the remaining days I would have to wake up at, let's say, 7 a.m. Now in this case, instead of saying case, I can also say default, because that's a default scenario. Irrespective of what date it is, you can specify that here. And default case, I can say this is wake up at 7 a.m. So this is the schedule I have. Saturday, Sunday is 6, Monday is 8 a.m. and then remaining days 7 a.m. In fact, it's always good to wake up at the same time every day. It doesn't matter, is it Sunday, Monday, or any day. But just for the example, I'm taking this example here. And okay, this should work, I guess. And it is printing the values as well. So if I right click and run, you can say it will print. Oh, it is printing. That's the issue, right? It is printing both. It is printing 8 a.m. and 7 a.m. is because I forgot not intentionally, I forgot to write break here. So basically you have to put a break in every case, otherwise it will just carry forward. Example, if I don't mention it here, and if I run this code, you can see it will say 8 a.m. Because we have a break here, because it is Monday. Let's say it is Sunday. And if I try to execute, it will execute the first block first. And you can see we got 6 a.m. and 8 a.m. So we don't want that, right? So it's good to put a break. Now this is the old way of doing. Now in Java 12, they introduced a new thing. So they mentioned instead of using a break here, we can put a break here itself. Just write break and the system.out.println. I know it doesn't look good, right? So it was a preview version, but they have updated later. We'll see that what they have updated with. But there's one way you can solve this problem, and the solution is the arrow key. So what you can do is you can simply remove this colon and put an arrow here. So this particular statement or a block, whichever you want to execute, will be executed based on a case. And for this particular arrow, you don't need to put a break. So remove the break. And the only thing is, if you are following one kind of switch case, basically this is a different kind itself. So if you're using arrow, don't use colon. So either use all colons or use all arrows. So here also I will use an arrow and we'll write it in one line. So you don't need to put a break here. Same goes for default, put an arrow there and you can write in one line. And this is actually easier to read as well. So if I right click and run this code, you can see it will print 6 a.m. So you don't need to put a break. So you can use an arrow here, which perfectly works. Now this makes sense, right? Now let me know in the comment first how much you liked the new syntax for switch. It's not like it is replacing the old one, but if you have break and if you don't like break, you can use the arrow. The next thing they have updated is we can use switch as an expression. That means that you evaluate and it will give you a value. That's right, it will return a value. Because if you look at this switch, it is not returning anything, right? So I want to return a value. But before that, let me change this example a bit. So what I will do is I will create a new variable here called string result. Initial value for this will be null or maybe a blank value. And then in this, instead of printing the value, what I will do is I will say result is equal to, I want to set the result as 6 a.m. So basically I want to change this printing statement with the variable assignment. So basically I want to assign the value instead of printing it directly. Let's do that here. So now what I'm doing is, in fact, I can write this without these lines. It will look cool. And now what I can do is I can just come back here and I can print the value of result. Even it will do the same thing. It's just that I'm using an extra variable instead of printing it here itself. And run this code. And you can see we got 6 a.m. Now you might be thinking why I'm printing it here, why not here? See, sometimes you're not sure how you want to process the information. Of course, you got the data. Now maybe you want to print it, maybe you want to send it on the client side, maybe you want to save that in a file. At least we got a variable, you can work with this instead of printing it here itself. Now we can do one more thing. See, we are creating a variable here, right? And then in the switch block, we are assigning values multiple times. Can we just do it this way? Instead of assigning value here, can we say, hey switch, give me the value. So basically I'm expecting switch to return a value. So if switch need to return a value, instead of writing result equal to, I can simply say return 6 a.m. and we can write return here as well. But the beauty is, if you know that you are expecting a value and you're not doing any expression here, so this is actually not needed. Okay, same as lambda expression, which we do in Java 8. So we can remove this part and it will write to return the value. No need to mention return as well. And since it is an expression now, you have to put a semicolon because this is the starting statement. It is getting ended here. Okay, so it will return a value directly. So it will match the cases, Saturday, Sunday. It will return 6 a.m. Monday, return 8 a.m. Default, return 7 a.m. So this value will be assigned to this result. And now this looks much clearer than the earlier one. And you can see we got 6 a.m. here. And of course, I can change the date as well. Let's say Wednesday. We don't even have to mention full because anyway, we are writing that in default. So let's run this code and you can see we got 7 a.m. So yeah, you can try this out and these are the new changes. In fact, we have one more. What if you want to do the same thing? You want to use switch as a expression, but you don't want to use the arrow key here. Maybe I want to use colon. In this case, can I do it? Actually, you can, but you just have to use one keyword called yield. That's it. So instead of using a arrow, if you want to use a colon, you can also say yield And here as well, we can say yield. So that's the only difference. If you want to use a colon, use yield. Otherwise, if you use an arrow, you don't have to mention any keyword. Now, in fact, this is what they have introduced in Java 12 as a preview version, but the statement was break initially, and now they're using yield, which looks much more better than break. And break itself looks like a negative word, right? I don't know why, but yeah, yield, get the value, just release the value, okay? And now let's run this code. You can see we got 7 a.m. Let's try with Saturday once. We just have to make sure it works before closing, and you can see we got 6 a.m. In fact, there are some more changes, but as a developer, we need these things a lot. So I hope it makes sense. So we can use switch in a normal way, which we were doing, put break in between. Otherwise, you can use arrow, where you don't have to put break. And otherwise, you can also use yield for a colon to return a value. So you can basically use switch as an expression. So switch can be a statement and switch can be an expression. So that's it from this video. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in the comment section and do subscribe for further videos. And you can also follow me on Instagram and you can find the link in the description. Bye-bye everyone.